I thought it was a love letter, a last-minute surprise from the man I was about to marry. But when I opened it, his name wasn't on the page. It wasn't his handwriting. It wasn't his story. It was a ghost's. And as I read the words, written by a dead man a decade ago, the beautiful world I was about to step into shattered into a million pieces. A single tear fell onto the crisp, aged paper, blurring the ink of a ghost's final warning. This is the story of how my wedding day, the happiest day of my life, became the day I finally learned the truth. A truth that had been buried for 10 long years. But the story doesn't start with that tear. It starts with sunshine. It starts with the kind of impossible, movie-perfect day you only read about in fairy tales. It starts with love, pure and simple, right before it was twisted into something I couldn't even recognize. However, before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Ilara felt the morning sun before she saw it, a warm, golden promise seeping through the curtains of the bridal suite. It was the kind of warmth that felt personal, like a blessing from the universe on her wedding day. A soft smile touched her lips before she even opened her eyes. Today, she was marrying Liam. Liam, her anchor, her quiet strength, the man whose gentle eyes held a universe she had spent the last 4 years joyfully exploring. The room was a happy chaos. Her dress, a cascade of ivory lace and beadwork, hung like a piece of art, catching the morning light in 1,000 tiny sparks. It was more beautiful than she'd ever dreamed. Beside it, her bridesmaids' dresses, 3 shades of dusty rose, were lined up, a testament to her closest friends. Her maid of honor, Chloe, was already buzzing around, directing the makeup artist and hairstylist like a cheerful general. "No, more glow, less glitter," Chloe instructed, peering at another bridesmaid, Maya. "Ilara's the only one allowed to literally sparkle today." Ilara laughed, a light sound that filled the room. She pushed herself up against the plush headboard, just taking it all in. The smell of coffee and hairspray mingled with the sweet fragrance of peonies and roses from the bouquets on the console table. Outside the window, the lawns of Blackwood Manor rolled out like a green carpet, leading to the ancient oak tree where they would say their vows. It was perfect, almost painfully so. She and Liam had found the venue 6 months ago, falling in love with its quiet, timeless elegance. It felt solid, permanent. The kind of place where forever could actually begin. Liam had traced the patterns in the old stone and looked at her. "This is it, isn't it?" he'd whispered, and she knew he wasn't just talking about the venue. Their love story wasn't a whirlwind. It was a slow build of trust and respect that had blossomed into a deep, unshakable love. They'd met through a friend at a crowded city bar, but even then it had felt like fate. He was a junior architect, full of quiet ambition. She was a pediatric nurse, finding her purpose in the brave smiles of her young patients. He had listened to her stories with an intensity that made her feel truly seen for the first time. In turn, she saw the passionate artist hiding beneath his calm exterior. He was the steady hand to her anxious heart, the one who would bring her tea without asking after a hard shift, the one who could make her laugh with a single dry comment that cut through her darkest moods. He'd charmed her mother instantly, not with big gestures, but with his quiet decency. He'd even asked about her father, who had passed away 10 years earlier, with a gentle respect that made her heart ache in the best way. He wanted to know him through her stories, her father, David. Even now, a decade after the accident, the thought of him was a bittersweet pang. He'd been a lawyer, a fierce advocate for the little guy, a man with a booming laugh who gave the best hugs. His death in a hit-and-run had shattered her world, leaving a wound that had never truly healed. She missed him with an ache that was always there. She knew he would have loved Liam. He would have seen the goodness in him, the quiet integrity she cherished. "Earth to Ilara," Chloe sang, waving a hand in front of her face. "You've got that misty, far-away look again. Thinking about your handsome groom? Ilara blinked, the sunny room coming back into focus. Always, she said, her smile returning. Just thinking about Dad, too. I wish he could be here. Chloe's expression softened. She came and sat on the edge of the bed, taking Ilara's hand. Oh, sweetie, he is here. I promise. He wouldn't miss this for the world. Ilara squeezed her hand, grateful. I know. His absence feels so real today. Then we'll fill it with so much joy he can feel it wherever he is, Chloe said firmly, her optimism a soothing balm. Now, up you get. We have a bride to assemble. The next few hours were a blissful blur. Makeup artists worked their magic. Her hair was twisted into an elegant chignon, woven with tiny pearls from her grandmother's earrings, her something old. Her mother arrived, eyes already brimming with tears. Oh, my beautiful girl, she breathed, fussing with a stray curl. You look like a queen. Your father would be so, so proud. Those words, meant to comfort, brought a fresh wave of longing. Ilara hugged her mother tightly. Thank you, Mom. For everything. Finally, it was time for the dress. With help from her mom and Chloe, she stepped into the gown. As the last button was fastened, she turned to the mirror, and the breath caught in her throat. The woman staring back at her was a bride. The overwhelming reality of it all washed over her, not with fear, but with a profound sense of peace. This was right. Marrying Liam was the most right thing she had ever done. She was laughing, twirling for her bridesmaids, when a soft knock came at the door. It was a hotel staff member holding a single, elegant envelope. It was thick, creamy white cardstock. Her name, Ilara, was written on the front in a familiar, handsome script. A delivery for the bride, the young man said with a polite smile. Ilara's heart fluttered. Liam. It had to be. They'd agreed, no contact until the ceremony. But this was just like him, breaking a small rule with a big romantic gesture. Chloe wiggled her eyebrows. Ooh, what has Mr. Almost Your Husband got for you? A last-minute confession of undying love? Ilara blushed as she took the envelope. It felt heavy, substantial. The script was definitely Liam's, a stylized, architectural print she knew from countless notes he'd left on the kitchen counter. Good morning, beautiful. Don't forget to water the fern. He's such a romantic, Maya sighed. He probably wrote you a poem. Or a contract promising to do the dishes for life, Ilara joked, though her heart was thrumming with excitement. A wedding day letter, a tangible keepsake of their love. She turned the envelope over, tracing her name. Just Ilara. To him, she was the only one in the world. Well, are you going to open it, or just stare at it? Chloe prompted. The suspense is killing me. Ilara laughed. All right. Just give me a moment. She wanted to read it alone. This felt like a private moment, just for her and Liam. She waved her bridesmaids and her mother away. Go on, shoo. Make sure the champagne is chilled. I'll be out in a minute. Her mother smiled, her eyes knowing. We'll give you some privacy, dear. Don't be too long. You have a wedding to get to. They filtered out, their chatter fading down the hall, leaving Ilara in a bubble of peaceful silence. The only sounds were the soft tick of the mantel clock and the happy, frantic beat of her own heart. She settled into an armchair by the window, the sunlight making her dress shimmer. She felt like she was floating. In less than an hour, she'd be walking toward Liam, toward the rest of her life. This letter felt like the perfect start to their forever. With a little sense of ceremony, she slid her thumbnail under the seal. She pulled out the folded pages inside. There were several, way more than she expected. They were filled, edge to edge, with dense, handwritten text. Liam really had poured his heart out. She smiled, a wide, deeply happy smile. She could already imagine the words, memories of their first date, his hopes for their future, a final, beautiful promise. She braced for the happy tears she knew would come. This was the man she was marrying. Thoughtful, poetic. She held the pages, took a deep breath, and began to read. The first 2 words were, "My dearest Ilara." And that's when the perfect, sun-drenched world began to tilt, because the handwriting wasn't Liam's. It wasn't even close. Liam's script was neat and architectural. This was a bold, messy cursive, the letters leaning forward as if in a hurry, full of personality. It was a scrawl she hadn't seen in 10 years but would know anywhere, from birthday cards, from notes on the fridge. Her father's handwriting. Ilara's breath hitched. Her mind scrambled to make sense of the impossible. He was gone. A cruel joke? Who would play such a monstrously cruel joke? She glanced at the envelope again. Her name, Ilara. That was Liam's handwriting. She was sure of it. But the words inside... Her eyes darted back to the page, scanning the first paragraph, her heart hammering against her ribs. My dearest Ilara, if you are reading this, it means 2 things. First, you are about to get married. And for that my heart swells with a pride I can't possibly put into words. I am looking at you right now, not the beautiful woman you've become, but the little girl with scraped knees and a firefly in a jar, and I am bursting. The second thing it means is that I am not there to see it. A sound, half gasp, half sob, escaped her lips. The warm, bright room suddenly felt cold, the air thin. Her beautiful dress now felt like a heavy, suffocating costume. This wasn't a joke. This was real. A letter from her father. A message from beyond the grave. How? Her mind raced. Who kept this? Where has it been for 10 years? And who gave it to Liam? Her mother? Had her mother kept this from her? Her hands trembled so hard the pages rattled. She had to keep reading. I am writing this on the eve of your 16th birthday. A strange time to write a wedding letter, I know, but something happened recently that has made me reflective. It's made me consider the future and the possibility that my own might not be as long as I'd hoped. I hope I'm wrong. I hope with every fiber of my being that I live to a ripe old age and get to hand you this letter myself on your wedding morning with a silly grin. I hope I get to walk you down the aisle. But hope is not a plan, and I've always been a man who plans, so I am writing this just in case I'm not there to tell you all the things a father should tell his daughter. Tears were streaming down her face now, hot tracks of sorrow and a strange, agonizing joy. It was him. His voice, his words, his slightly formal way of phrasing things. Hope is not a plan. She could hear him saying it. It was a terrible, beautiful miracle. She read on, her world shrinking to the black ink on the page. He wrote about her childhood, about her fierce loyalty, about the immense pride he felt watching her grow into not just a smart person, but a good one. I have only one real hope for your future, Ilara, he wrote. It is that you are happy, and that you find a partner who values your happiness as much as his own, someone who sees the brilliant shining light that you are and spends his life making sure it never dims. He should be kind. He should have a strength of character you can rely on, a moral compass that points true north. He must above all be a good man. Ilara's sob broke the silence. Liam. He was describing Liam. Kind, decent, honorable Liam. Her rock. Her father, a decade ago, had laid out the blueprint for the perfect man, and somehow she had found him. It felt like a blessing, a final approval from the man whose opinion she valued most. She looked out the window at the oak tree where the ceremony would start in 20 minutes. Her heart ached with sadness and love. She pressed the letter to her chest, as if she could absorb her father's essence from the paper. He was with her. She picked up the pages again, a watery smile on her face. There was one page left, one final section. She wiped her tears, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. She could read his final words and carry them with her down the aisle, a secret treasure. She took a breath and read the final page. And the world didn't just tilt this time. It shattered. The tone of the letter shifted. The warmth was gone, replaced by something colder, graver. The handwriting seemed tighter, more urgent. Now, Alara, I must tell you the real reason for this letter. It is not just to wish you well, it is a warning. I am building a case against a powerful man who built his construction empire on faulty materials and fraudulent safety reports. His negligence led to a structural collapse. People were hurt. One man died, and this man has used his money and influence to bury it, to silence everyone. Alara's blood ran cold. Construction empire? Fraudulent reports? A heavy dread began to pool in her stomach. This was a world she knew something about. Liam's world. His father, Alistair Vance, was a titan in the construction industry. Vance Construction. Liam had always spoken of his father with a complicated mix of awe and distance. She forced herself to read on, a sickening sense of inevitability creeping in. This man is ruthless, Alara. He tried to buy me off. When that didn't work, he tried to intimidate me. My car's brake lines were tampered with last week. It was a clear message. I've compiled all the evidence. If something happens to me, it will be delivered to the authorities. But I am writing this to you because I need you to know the name of the man who I believe would be responsible if my life is cut short. I need you to have it, to be safe from it. Her vision blurred. The sunlit room felt like a cage. The clock's ticking was a hammer in her ears. She knew what was coming. She begged the words on the page to be different, but they stared back, unblinking and merciless. His name is Alistair Vance. The page fell from her numb fingers. Alistair Vance. The name seemed to pulse with a dark energy from the floor. Alistair Vance, her fiancé's father, her future father-in-law, the charming man who had toasted their engagement and welcomed her into his family, the man whose son she was about to marry in less than 15 minutes. No, it couldn't be. A mistake, a coincidence. But she knew. In the coldest pit of her soul, she knew. Vance Construction, the power, the ruthlessness. It fit perfectly, a puzzle piece of pure horror slotting into place. Her father hadn't died in a random accident. The hit and run. It was an execution. Alistair Vance had murdered her father. Her mind replayed the last 10 years, the police investigation that went nowhere, the lack of evidence, her mother's heartbroken campaigning for justice that eventually faded away. It was all a cover-up, orchestrated by the very family she was about to join. And Liam. Oh, God. Liam. Did he know? Could he possibly know what his father was? No, not her Liam. Her kind, gentle, honorable Liam. He couldn't be a part of this. He was a victim too, wasn't he? Raised by a monster, ignorant of the poison in his family tree. But then, a new, even more horrifying thought pierced through her shock. The envelope. The handwriting on the envelope was Liam's. He had delivered this letter. Where did he get it? She forced herself to pick up the page, to read the final, devastating paragraph. I have given a copy of this letter, along with a key to the evidence, to the one person I trust more than anyone, your mother. I have instructed her to give this to you only on your wedding day. You must know the foundation upon which your new family is built. I am so sorry, my sweet Alara, if this truth brings you pain. But even in death, I must protect you. Whatever you do now, know that I love you more than words can say. Be brave. Your loving father, David. Her mother. Her mother had this letter for 10 years. She had watched Alara fall in love with Liam. She had helped her plan a wedding to the son of the man who had murdered her husband. She had smiled and hugged her and helped her into her dress this morning, knowing everything. And she had given the letter to Liam to deliver. Why? Was it a test? For them both? Did she want to see what Liam would do? Did he read it? He must have. Or did her mother tell him what was inside? The man she loved, the man she was about to marry, had walked across the estate that morning holding a letter that accused his own father of murder and had handed it over. The perfect day, the perfect love, It was all an elaborate lie, built on a foundation of death and deceit. Alistair Vance hadn't just killed her father. He was about to absorb his only daughter into his own tainted family. The victory would be absolute. The sweet scent of the peonies suddenly smelled like a funeral. The sunshine outside seemed harsh and mocking. From outside she heard the beautiful sound of a string quartet beginning to play, the music for her to walk down the aisle, her cue. A soft knock came at the door. It was Chloe. "Ilara? It's time." Time. The word hung in the air. Time to walk down the aisle, time to smile, time to take Liam's hand, knowing it was connected by blood to the man who stole her father from her. Time to look Alistair Vance in the eye and see a murderer. Ilara stood up, her movements robotic. The letter was still clutched in her hand. She looked at her reflection. The radiant bride was gone. In her place was a woman with haunted eyes, her face a pale mask of horror. "Ilara? Honey, are you okay?" Chloe's voice was laced with concern. "We have to go." Go. The word spurred her to action, but not toward the garden, not toward Liam. Her gaze locked on the other door, the one leading back into the main corridor of the manor. She couldn't walk down that aisle. She couldn't be a part of this grotesque play. Her father's last words were a call to action. "Be brave," he had written. And bravery wasn't walking into a beautiful lie. It was facing the ugly truth. She crossed the room, ignoring Chloe's confused questions, ignoring the insistent melody from outside. She reached the door. She thought of Liam. Was he a conspirator or a pawn? A victim of his father's sins, just like her? There was only one way to find out. He deserved to see the accusation with his own eyes, and she deserved to see his face when he did. She thought of her mother, who had chosen this exact moment to detonate the truth. It was cruel, but maybe it was necessary. Maybe it was the only way to force a reckoning 10 years overdue. The wedding had brought all the players onto one stage. The final act was about to begin. "Ilara, what are you doing?" Chloe cried, rushing to her side. "The ceremony is starting." Ilara turned to her best friend, her eyes now clear with a cold, terrifying purpose. The tears were gone. In their place was a resolve as hard as steel. "I know," she said, her voice quiet, steady, and utterly unrecognizable. "But I think there's been a change of plans." She opened the door, not to the future she had dreamed of, but to the present she had to confront. She stepped into the hallway, her beautiful white dress a stark contrast to the darkness that had just consumed her world. She didn't look back. She walked, each step firm and deliberate, down the corridor. She was no longer a bride going to her wedding. She was a daughter going to war. And in her hand, she held the only weapon she needed, her father's final words. A single letter from a ghost has the power to rewrite the future. For Ilara, the happiest day of her life turned into a devastating revelation, unearthing a decade of lies. The walk down the aisle was replaced by a walk toward a terrible confrontation. Her fairy tale ended, replaced by a grim reality where love and loss were tangled in unforgivable secrets. The perfect day was over. The fight for the truth had just begun. What would you do if you were Ilara? What happens next? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you next time.